If you've been scrolling through endless listings of binoculars, telescopes, and all-in-one viewers, and you still can't decide which one actually makes sense for the trips you have in mind, this review is going to clear that up. I've spent the last few weekends actually taking a couple of the cheap-priced high-power options out to a local nature reserve, a backyard stargazing session, and even a weekend camping trip just to see how they hold up when the weather isn't perfect. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What you'll hear in the next few minutes is the kind of nitpicky, real-world feedback you usually have to hunt for on forums, but without the jargon-filled spec sheet that most manufacturers love to plaster on the front of the box. First off, let's talk about who this 832 high-end binocular-style telescope is really built for. If you're a casual birdwatcher who wants to pop out to the feeder on a Saturday morning and see a finch's wing pattern without lugging a big, tripod-bound spotting scope, the compact, lightweight feel of this unit is a genuine advantage. The same goes for a backyard astronomer who only looks up a few nights a month and isn't ready to invest in a full-size Dobsonian. The product's waterproof rating also means you can take it to a misty lake or a rainy campsite without worrying about a busted seal. In short, anyone who values portability over raw aperture size and who doesn't need extreme low-light performance will find a comfortable sweet spot here. Now, who should skip it? If you're a serious ornithologist who needs a wide field of view to track fast-moving waterfowl across a lake, the 8 magnification combined with a relatively small 32mm objective will feel cramped. You'll notice that the image starts to shake if you don't have a very steady hand, and the narrower field makes locating a bird in the sky a bit like playing a game of Where's Waldo at a distance. Likewise, if you're an avid deep sky photographer who wants to resolve faint nebulae or planets, the 32mm aperture simply doesn't gather enough light to give you the crisp, dark-adapted images you're after. In those cases, you're better off looking at a dedicated spotting scope or a larger aperture telescope. Let's break down the practical strengths that become obvious once you actually use the thing. The first thing I noticed was the built-in phone holder. It's a simple clamp that slides onto the eyepiece and lets you line up the image on your phone's screen. During the birdwatching session at the park, this made it easy to record a quick video of a hummingbird without having to rig a separate mount. The holder is sturdy enough that it doesn't wobble, but it's also quick to remove if you just want to look through the optics directly. The second strength is the included tripod. It's a lightweight, collapsible carbon fiber style that folds down to fit in a backpack. When I set up on the campground, the tripod gave the unit a stable platform for low-light stargazing, and because the legs lock firmly, there was no creeping drift as the temperature dropped. Finally, the waterproof claim isn't just marketing fluff. I tested it in a light rain while trying to spot a nighttime owl, and the lenses stayed clear and dry. No fogging occurred even after a half-hour of exposure to moisture. On the flip side, there are a few trade-offs that become clear after you've spent a day or two with the unit. The most noticeable weakness is the field of view. At 8 magnification, the view narrows to roughly 6 degrees, which is fine for looking at a single perched bird or a bright planet like Jupiter, but it feels restrictive when you're scanning a flock or trying to find a specific star cluster. The next practical downside is eye relief. The eyepiece sits relatively close to the eye, which means you have to keep the unit pressed against your face to get the full image. If you wear glasses, you'll need to either lift the binoculars slightly or press harder, which can be uncomfortable after a while. Lastly, the high-end label can be a bit misleading if you're expecting a premium finish. The body is made of a thick-walled polymer that feels sturdy, but the coating on the lenses is not the multi-coated, flare-reducing type you'd find on pricier optics. In bright daylight, the edges of the image can show a faint ghosting, especially when looking at high-contrast subjects like a white bird against a dark sky. Real-world use cases help put these strengths and weaknesses into perspective. On Saturday, I headed to the local wetland reserve with a friend who is an amateur birder. We were after kingfishers and the occasional great egret. The compact size meant we could slip the binoculars into a small day pack, and the waterproof claim gave us confidence when a drizzle started mid-morning. The 8 magnification let us see the intricate orange-yellow plumage of a kingfisher perched on a reed, something A.